Good morning, school. Welcome back to episode 109. This is Q&A Friday number 19. Good morning. Doing a little tea this morning because I'm on a extended fast here. Doing a 36-hour fast, actually. A little bit longer. How are you doing this morning, everybody? Go ahead and throw a flex emoji in the comments if you were logging on, tuning into this thing live, and let's get started today. So we're just going to jump right into it. Question number 1, because you already know the show's here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes, right? Of course you do. You're always here. You're consistent. It's important. Consistency is key. You're listening to the show consistently. So let's talk about working out from home here as we pull up the first question. So first question of today is, how do you recommend working out from home? This is a good one. So how do I recommend working out from home? Well, it depends on what kind of tools you have. If you have something like a band, there's a lot of cool stuff that you could do with these things. I have an entire library of exercises on the School of Shred when you become a student on my online health academy. But there's a lot of videos too. Like you can get something like this, you can work out. For me personally, I think that you don't really need a lot of stuff, though. I mean, this is stuff for my compromised population that I train online, because you can set up lower tolerance type exercises for people. You know, it's not as high risk. Because for some people, a push-up could be problematic if they have like a shoulder injury or they had a shoulder surgery or something like that. So I have a series of these exercises with these bands that I can use, and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with them. However, what I was saying, though, what I was about to get into is that calisthenics are king. So if you have to work out from home, push-ups, burpees, squats, split squats, lunges, there's a lot of different leg variations that you can do. You can do a lot of different crunch variations, all sorts of push-ups that you can do. Challenge yourself with massive volume. And then there's also burpees. We all love burpees. So that's what you can do when you're working out from home, is you just, you can write down, say, 5 different body weight exercises. So you say you got like squats, burpees, split squats, push-ups, crunches, and then you just do 3 to 5 sets of 20 reps each. And you can play around every day with those rep ranges and have fun with it, and try to make a fun workout up, something that's going to kind of keep you mentally engaged and involved. I mean, so for me, I like to do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 type schemes. Sometimes I like to do 1,000 reps push-ups in an hour, 1,000 push-ups in an hour. That's a pretty brutal one. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but you want to manipulate volume. And if you're new to exercise, just take it very slow and get a mind-muscle connection and try to modify things as much as needed. If you have to do push-ups from your knees, you should do that. It's better to do a full range push-up for most people than it is to, do just a couple inches at the top. But a couple inches at the top, I mean, that can still do something too. It just depends on where you're at. This is why it's very hard to just dole out advice online, because as an actual professional trainer who trains people who have injuries and such, there's a big gradient out there. But body weight can be a really good option, and that's the option that I recommend to the general public for exercising at home. I mean, if you can get some weights, that's great too. If you get some of these bands, that's great. There is a lot of stuff. You have a lot of options. So, yeah. All right. Question 2. What are your diet tips for beginners? All right. This is so fun. These are always loaded questions. Diet tips for beginners. I would say the first thing that I would do with somebody, if they were totally new to trying to eat healthy and trying to get healthy, is I would get their water intake up first. That's the first thing I'd go after, is hydration levels. I've had clients that have actually lost weight from doing nothing more than water for a few reasons. Number one, their body starts to flush inflammation, which is more of that physiological response. Number two is it just fills them up and they don't eat as much of the other food or other beverages. Sometimes your biggest enemy is not the food you eat, it's what you're drinking, from sugar laden coffees to sports drinks to energy drinks and such. So, when you're drinking a lot of water, you tend to have a full belly, you tend to eat less. So it helps in that regard as well. But really the thing that I'm big on is just hydrating the body so it has enough water to do what it needs to do. Your muscles are about 70% water. You have interstitial fluid that's water dependent. I mean, you have glycogen that's water dependent. I mean, everything's water dependent in your body. So getting a lot of water is important. Getting too much can be detrimental though. So 15 milliliters per pound of body weight is, out of all the nutrition courses I've done, is the one that stuck with me, that I felt like was very reasonable per individual. And that's the one that I tend to recommend. I've also just told people, hey, look, just treat yourself like an athlete now, drink a gallon a day. I think most people, as long as you're not taking drugs and medications, in which you should never listen to somebody on the internet unless you go talk to your doctor first. But for the general public, I think a gallon a day is not going to hurt anybody. I think if you just make it a goal that you get a gallon a day down, 128 fluid ounces, that can do wonders for you. Now, you don't have to carry the jug around like, people do at the gym. I used to do that all the time. You don't have to do that. You can simply just measure it in different ways if you want. I have a 50 ounce jar that I drink out of, so it's still, really unassuming, this big 50 ounce thing, so much better than a gallon. But anyway, I do 3 of those a day, and that's 150 ounces. So that's a lot of water. But yeah, that's the first diet tip. The second thing that I would recommend after you have the water down is change breakfast. So I usually change breakfast for somebody. So I would have them do typically, I mean, it depends, but typically I'd have them do a low carbohydrate diet, or no, a low carbohydrate breakfast. So I'd have them do a high fat, moderate protein, not too high in protein, 0 carb breakfast. Specifically, if their goal was weight loss, I'd want to do that. And even if their goal was muscle gain, I'd want to do that. And the reason is because I don't want to ruin metabolic efficiency in the process of making somebody gain weight. Now, hang with me on this one, because as you start to overconsume calories, you run the risk of becoming less efficient with those calories. Because what's happening when you're trying to gain weight and gain muscle is you're spiking insulin, you're strategically using it to gain muscle. But what happens over time when we're consistently overfed is we start to alter our metabolic efficiency, which is our body's ability to go back and forth between burning fat for fuel and burning ketone, or burning glucose for fuel. So if you have something that's on a bulk, traditionally that would be a high carb diet, high protein, moderate fat, kind of high everything, because you're trying to gain weight. But carbs can be they're the easiest fuel source to get. So if you're having a ton of carbs constantly, your body's gonna become dependent on carbs. And so then when you go to start cutting later on, you have a bunch of work you have to do as far as getting your metabolism healthy again. So I like that high fat breakfast for anybody trying to cut fat, reduce inflammation, maybe even fix gut health, all the way to somebody trying to gain muscle. So for that reason, I start there. With the beginner, I would say water first. The second thing is look at a breakfast that's high in fat, low in carbohydrates, 0 carbohydrates, and low in fiber, or low in protein as well. That way, it's pretty much a ketotic type breakfast, like whole eggs, butter, whole eggs and bacon, or whole eggs and avocado. Avocado it's a carby type source, but it's mostly fiber, so that's not really going to raise insulin. So stuff like that, unless they have an egg issue, then we figure it out from there. But that's where I would go to. I would go, water, look at breakfast. Then I would just start creeping into the other meals. That's what I do with clients a lot of the time, is I creep in other meals. So I'll go breakfast, then we look at lunch. How can we get consistent there? Then how do we get to dinner? And then, you get to dinner and you pretty much have the game won, because at that point, that's pretty much, the most social meal of the day for people is going to be their dinner, especially if you have a family. And so I try to change that last, just, through making a better breakfast and a better lunch. People tend to select better food sources over time. So, but it all depends on where the client's at. If the client could move really quick, they might want a full-on plan. If they're, sometimes beginners do, and sometimes it works for them. And then sometimes you need to nudge people in the right direction and change them one thing at a time, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of, the reality that there's a there's a scientific way I could draw you up a perfect program. I'm like, hey, look, I think this is the best program for you. But then there's how do I get you to do it? And the transition of that from the knowledge piece into the application is the most interesting piece to me as a coach, because I've realized over my years of training people that that's really is what matters. It's not about being able to pull out these textbooks that are behind me and use my 10 years of experience of dieting myself and then come up with this perfect plan for somebody. It doesn't work if you don't do it. So trying to merge that gap with maybe one thing at a time and nudge that needle, that's been shown to be very important in what I do with people. So that was a very good question. Let's move on, huh? All right, number 3. We're ripping right through these bad boys today. All right. Is it more important to burn calories with weight training or go slow? Huh. So is it more important to burn calories with weight training or go slow? Okay, so definitely, yeah, let's talk about this. Burning calories with weightlifting, I don't recommend trying to think about weightlifting as burning calories, okay? That's going to have you turning everything into just a cardiovascular workout. When you lift heavy, if you ever wear a heart rate monitor, you're going to notice that your heart rate does not get up that high. Therefore, you will not burn that many calories based off of what the watch is telling you. So chasing calories is not a good metric when you're trying to lift weights for muscle. You want to think about lifting weights and gaining muscle. Don't think about it as burning calories. But if you want to talk about burning calories from weight training, let's talk about this. It's an investment. It's an investment that slowly compounds over time. If you throw money in the stock market and you throw it in the S&P 500, you're going to get small returns every year. But over the course of a long period of time, it's going to compound for you. Okay. And then one day you're going to have much more money. Okay. It's the same thing with muscle tissue. You don't lift this week to try and gain or to try and burn calories this week, right? What lifting can help do is it can help optimize your hormone function, spike growth hormone, spike testosterone. That's all the beneficial stuff that you're getting out of it. That's where we think that we're spiking our metabolic rate. But it's over time when those muscles repair, recover, get bigger, and they need more energy, or they consume more energy, more heat energy. That's when they start to burn more calories. So this happens slowly over time. So this is why steps or cardio is important stuff, is just, the general movement. You'll have times where you can do these real hard metabolic workouts and you're going to burn a lot of calories from it, but there's an ebb and flow that comes to that. If you're a smart exerciser, you're going to have times where you have hard metabolic training, but then you have times where you deload and you're maybe doing just heavy, you deload, maybe you're going light for a week, but then you're gonna have times where maybe you're just doing heavy, but you're taking a long rest breaks. You're challenging each individual muscle fiber. You have 3 muscle fiber types. You have a white fast twitch, a red fast twitch, and a red slow twitch. Okay. And so a good training program is going to touch on each one of those guys over time. So, and all of that is like, you're going to have times where maybe you're burning a little more calories with the exercise, but then, then other times you're not. This is where that nutrition is important, and the sleep and all that is important, because that's what we're really trying to optimize our hormones and our metabolic efficiency. Okay. We're not exercising to burn calories. That is a bad mindset to get into. I'm just going to say it. It's a bad mindset to get into, because what it has you doing is it has you kind of hinting at the fact that, like, maybe you could outtrain a bad diet. Now, I'm not saying that you're saying this. I'm not saying that anybody's thinking this, but I'm going to go over this because it's kind of insinuating that, oh, well, if I burn calories to exercise, theoretically, if I eat something bad, I can just go burn it off. Okay. It's like working for minimum wage. You're always going to be behind. Okay. You don't want to be trying to exercise to burn calories. So you exercise for all the other benefits: cardiovascular health, overall strength, joint protection, organ protection. It does help metabolic health. It absolutely does help metabolic health. It makes you more insulin sensitive. But these are all different processes. That's not really just burning calories. See what I mean? You're starting to see the connection here. There's a lot of other systems that it's improving, drastically improving. Exercise is medicine. Truly, movement is medicine to the body. But when we get into thinking that we're exercising to burn calories and weight training to burn calories, then we start to prioritize burning calories over gaining muscle and training muscle. Potentially you could. And then You start to lose technique, execution, and you could put yourself at risk for orthopedic issues over time, like osteophytes and such, when you're putting sloppy forces through your body. So the question is it more important to burn calories with weight training or go slow? It is to go slow if you're going slow because of the intentions you're thinking about while you're doing the exercise. What are you thinking about while you're doing the exercise? You don't want to be daydreaming while you're doing your exercise. You want to be fully invested in what the muscle is feeling, what the muscles how they're firing. And you're going slow so you can execute better and get you're trying to manipulate physics to find work as opposed to manipulate physics to get out of work if the goal is muscle gain and a healthy muscular system. If you're doing sport training, it could be different, okay, because that's a different goal. Everything's based off the goal like we've talked about, but this is obviously a fat burn question. So that's where we're at with that. Focus on good, sound exercise technique, challenging the muscles, training close-ish to failure. If you don't have any other reason you shouldn't, like, injuries that if you push to failure, you might, blow up a landmine. And then you use your daily activity like step counting or, your cardio and your nutrition to help burn the fat. Okay. You're going to have a nice, strong, sexy looking structure underneath all that fat when you go to cut it down from your nutrition because of the weight training. Weight training does so much more than just burn calories, but it does burn calories long term when you build muscle. But building muscle takes a long time, so you don't want to hold your breath. Let's all hold our breath till we gain muscle. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. All right, I'm being a smart aleck. So anyway, moving on. That's a good question, though. That's great. That's actually a great question because I used to do that. I guess I'll keep going on this one. I used to do that. So I had a time where I fell into that, where I was trying to burn 1,000 calories an hour doing weight training. What I was doing is I just ended up doing triple sets on everything. And that lasted about a week until I was overtrained, could barely move. And just my body could not handle it, could not recover from it. So a lot of good exercise programming and burning calories and creating metabolic efficiency is about the juggle between recovery, the workout, and the nutrition. And getting that right. When you get that right, there's nothing that feels better than that because then you have a system that you can go back to for reference, if you need to change anything. So it's really great. All right. Number 4. Last one of the day. Here. We're only getting 4. We were getting like the 3 or 5. Now we're getting 4. Okay. If you guys have any questions, I see some people here on Instagram. What's up, Instagram? Shout out to Instagram. Ask any questions you guys have. Facebook, YouTube. Ask any questions you have. If you're listening to this in your car or at the gym on Spotify and iTunes, you missed the boat. I'm sorry. You missed the boat. Hopefully we're answering some good ones for you, though. Okay, number 4 is, can you tell me how long it will take to lose 20 pounds? You know what? I think I can. Tell you. I can give you a rough estimate here. I'm going to pull up something real quick. So usually, what I found in personal training courses and whatnot is, about 1 pound to 1% per week tends to be ideal for weight loss. So, if you're whatever your body weight is, take 1% of that. That's the max you'd want to lose per week. And then the slowest you'd want to lose is about 1 pound per week. Okay, unless you were under 100 pounds, but we might have to, do a different program for you if you're under 100 pounds. So we got 20 weeks divided by, all right. So say you are, and that's the thing is I don't know how much this person who asked this question weighs, but say you were 180 pounds. Okay. So I'm going to go 20, which is 20 pounds divided by 1.8, which is 1% of their body weight. And that's going to be 11.11. So we're looking at 11 weeks. That's an 11-week fat loss program for somebody who's 180 pounds who wants to lose 20 pounds of body weight. Okay, that's if you have everything, everything's going smoothly for you by the book. Now, as you've heard me say before, there is the by the book equations, and then there's the reality of things. Like 3,500 calories is a caloric pound. So drop your nutrition by 500 calories a day and you're going to lose a pound a week. But it's kind of hard to, That's a hard. I've had people that you do that and the math doesn't work out. They stop losing weight. Then what do you do, right? Then at some point it comes down to hormones and food quality and things like that. So that's always a part of it. It's not just cutting calories all the time. Like a lot of times there's things you got to do to replenish the body. It is calories in, calories out, but calories in, calories out's a complex equation that you can actually get more calories out if you take more calories in. So it's not necessarily dependent on you just dropping calories out of your diet. So it can be tough, but some of the things that I've talked about today could help with that. But the question was, can you tell me how long it will take to lose 20 pounds? And so that's about if you're 180 pounds, about 11 weeks. So you just take your body weight, 1% of that. So if you're 200 pounds, 2.0, that's the max you'd want to lose. The least you'd want to lose per week is going to be 1% of your body weight. And we've talked about this before, is body weight. How do you measure that? So if I need to lose 1.8 pounds per week, how do I measure that? What you do is when you get up in the morning, you take your pee for the first time, you urinate, then you jump on the scale right away and you jot that number down. Every 7 days, you do a 7-day average. And how you do that is you take up all 7 body weights for the week, you add them together, okay, plus them together, for those of you who don't know what add means, and then you divide them by 7. All right. And then you're going to get your 7-day average and you jot that number down. And then week to week, that's the number you're looking at, is your 7-day body weight average. Have you lost 1 pound to 1% of your total body weight per week? Okay. So that's the haps on the craps right there. So we got a live question coming in here. We're going to pull up. All right. Cool. Here we go. What is your opinion on keto, or what is your opinion on supplements that support getting your body into the process of keto? So exogenous ketones. Well, I'm wondering if I should share this story here. You may or may not. Here's the thing. So they definitely can work. So exogenous ketones can definitely work. You have to be careful though with stomach upset if you take them, because what happens if you pump a lot of ketones into your system, your body is going to have a hard time using all that fat right away, and it can cause gastrointestinal distress and have you run into the bathroom. You can make a mess out of yourself. So be careful with them. And what you want to do if you're going to be doing things that are exogenous ketones, so you're using ketones to get into ketosis, is you want to be very, very careful that you're taking it seriously. Because what happens when we can instantly get into keto is people don't take it seriously. And so what happens is now they're flooded with glucose if they're eating carbohydrates, and then they take ketones, and then maybe they're keto for half a day, and then they have carbs again, or high protein, and it kicks them out, and they haven't learned how to actually be keto. You have to learn how to be keto for your body. Like for me, I can't sit down and eat chicken breast or it'll kick me out. So you have to learn what's going to keep you in keto. So these exogenous ketones, what you can run the risk of though is you can have elevated glucose numbers and elevated ketones, and that can cause a huge issue. So that's not something that you want, because ketones are a response to low blood sugar naturally. So if you have high blood sugar and then you dump a bunch of ketones in your system, you run the risk of having both. Now, there's athletes that have talked about athletic performance being through the freaking roof if you have high, like you have a high carb meal before an event and then you also do ketones, but that would be for like an athletic event. It's not something I've ever tested. Me personally, I don't use exogenous ketones just because I do so much fasting. I get in it anyway. So between fasting and higher fat, lower carbohydrate, moderate protein type eating, you'll be able to get in there. But to get started into it, it certainly can help. It can certainly be beneficial to get exogenous ketones. And remember, if you're doing this, you're going to want to check your ketone levels with a blood glucose monitor, just to make sure that you're in. And then when you're in, you got to learn how to stay in. Like, how much grass-fed butter do you got to put on stuff? How much protein might be too much. Now, I've talked about before, like, keto-ish is a great way to go. But if you want to be keto-ish, I don't think you need exogenous ketones. So if you're doing exogenous ketones, ketone supplements, do those if you're trying to really get into keto, which is great. I mean, getting into keto is awesome. Keto is a great way of living. I'm certainly a fan from an objective point of view. It seems to be great. Definitely short term as well. So, but anyway, that's when you'd want to use those. You're trying to get into ketosis. Maybe you don't want to fast for a couple of days. So you take your ketones, but you shut down carbohydrate intake after that. You don't go back and forth, because You don't want to be relying on these exogenous ketones, because what's happening is you're getting fats up for your energy, and you're also getting glucose up. So, you're kind of flooding your system with a lot of different energy sources, and that could put you at risk for, some interesting blood sugar stuff, but also storing more body fat and all that. So, that's my opinion on it. They can be great. They can be great. You just got to do it the right way and treat it with respect when you're doing it, because you got to realize that you're giving yourself two energy sources at once if you're doing carbs and ketones from exogenous sources where you're drinking them or eating them or whatever. So that is it. Does anybody have any other questions? Let's see. IG, no IG. Okay, cool. So that is it for this week, everybody. That's episode 109. That's Q&A Friday number 19 here. Sorry I didn't wear my Hawaiian shirt today. It's a little rainy here in the Pacific Northwest. It's not Hawaiian shirt weather right now. So we'll see you next week. We are here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we'll be back on Monday at 9 a.m. PST. And if you guys are wanting to turn over a new leaf and change your life for the better, join the School of Shred Online Health Academy. You're going to get weekly assignments. You're going to be a student again. There's a whole back office on my website where you'll get video trainings. You're going to have a package shipped to you with a bunch of cool stuff in it. You're going to get your own book, for daily tracking, for daily self-development disciplines. And then you'll have a weekly live class with your peers, as well as daily Q&As like this, but more in depth. So go to theschoolofshred.com, sign up for your first 90 days, your first quarter at the school. And with that, I will see you on Monday. Stay strong and healthy in body. Stay relentless and energized in spirit. And stay determined in your pursuits. That spells shred. Now go shred the day and get better in every way. Be safe this weekend. And until Monday, class is dismissed. All right. Bye-bye.